with over 7 million copies being sold before its anime adaptation, as well as ranking consistently within the top 3 weekly on Shonen Jump's popularity polls. In 5 years, Sakamoto Days has become an absolute powerhouse in the weekly Shonen Jump magazine, and it's easy to see why. With arguably one of, if not the best artwork currently being serialized in the magazine, combined with absolutely electrifying action-packed fights on a weekly basis, Sakamoto Days has crafted a winning formula that keeps us coming back for more week after week. With the anime finally being announced, fans were ecstatic, seeing as this would seemingly be the second coming of JJK in terms of popularity. I mean, comparing the two manga, it certainly seemed to look that way. Fights, aura, characters, already well-established popularity, aura. It seemed as though the second coming was upon us, and then that opening dropped. Fans were upset, and it's easy to see why. Characters barely animated in bland backgrounds, still images for some fan favorites, and overall just not something that gets you hyped. I mean, the song is great, Bondi delivered, but visually they flopped with this opening. And this low-effort opening was only the beginning of what this adaptation was to bring. To get it out of the way, is Sakamoto Days a bad adaptation? No, it's fine, and that's kind of the problem. For anime onlys, y'all just wouldn't get it. Maybe you can if you have eyes and I put the scenes side by side like this, but you always have that one nerd telling you, don't judge off clips, or it's not a big deal. Fair enough, I too like to watch anime with my eyes closed. I know the side-by-sides could seem disingenuous, cause there's numerous examples of out-of-context screenshots from anime that look terrible, but when in motion it looks fine. But trust me, the anime simply does not flow as well as the manga does. He has a certain way with framing, paneling, literally just everything that makes the action so addicting to read. I'll try and break it down. You see, there are two big things about Sakamoto Days that are at the core of this series that make it the smash hit that it is. Fights and aura. You know those anime fans that are like, ugh, new gen anime fans after 2020 only care about these new popular anime like JJK with action and aura. Yeah, well, if you think JJK is all aura, no substance, buddy, let me introduce you to solo leveling. And I think Sakamoto Days falls more in line with the latter. I mean, it's nowhere near as egregious. Solo leveling fans be acting like Ken Vaughn is the main character. By comparison, Sakamoto is a very emotionally driven character. Everything he does is for his family. Even if you're not related by blood, he's got your back. He's got some pretty good lines that move you throughout the series. They also have the best female characters out of both JJK and Solo Leveling combined, easily. You can keep posting this blonde chick all you want, I'm not falling for the mind control. Yeah, he did Lou dirty, but he more than makes up for it with Osagiri, Rion, and Akira. I'm not saying there's no redeemable qualities about Sakamoto Days other than cool characters do cool things, but I mean, let's be honest here, I don't exactly read this weekly looking to feel depressed each week the same way I do with other series. And that's perfectly fine. I'll poop on Solo Leveling all day, but yeah, I think it's cool. The action is sick. And with Sakamoto Days, I don't go in expecting to feel any emotion other than hype when I tune in weekly. Again, that's fine. I'm not the biggest glazer for this series admittedly, but I can respect it. Because man, what this manga does right, whoo boy, it certainly does it right. You'd have to be a fool to say there's no sauce in this manga. It's funny, cause I've seen people say Sakamoto Days is a comedy series first, action series second, and it's like, are we reading the same story? Yeah, maybe the first few chapters, sure, but I read this series weekly and I ain't laughing. Y'all think this is Gintama? It's literally the exact opposite. The comedy takes a backseat here. It's not even a joke anymore when he gets skinny and returns to top form. Bro could have a Super Saiyan transformation every week, it would accomplish the same thing, and we'd probably be okay with it. Feel like he can go months in real life without getting fat nowadays. I feel like we see his fat self less than we see his skinny self. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there hasn't been a week that's gone by post 100 chapters that didn't have some sort of action sequence in it. Even on chapters that are supposed to be more emotionally focused, there's gotta be a bullet flying for a panel at least. I don't know, maybe it's in bro's quota to include action every chapter. I can't even blame him, because if I was drawing action scenes this well, yeah, I'd be spamming it every week too. And this leads us back into the problems with the anime. You see, Sakamoto Days is known for how well its fights flow, and this makes up a large portion of the series. This is a weekly occurrence at this point, and to be honest, probably shouldn't be the industry standard. Seriously, bro is not normal. I don't know how he's able to produce these chapters weekly. Dude's absolutely cracked. In the anime's defense, I think it could actually be well animated at times. The Shin vs Sakamoto scene from episode 1, for instance, is arguably even better than its manga counterpart, I'd say. Just look at the sequence. And even some scenes like the introduction of X, while different, I'd even go to argue surpass the source. This shot is cold. But when it needs to hit, the anime fails to deliver on the actual hype moments that this series is known for. Sakamoto's vs Hard Boiled is the first really big moment for the series, and fans weren't really feeling it. If this is supposed to be the studio going all out, how are the series' high points like Sakamoto vs the Filmmaker supposed to hit? I keep bringing it up because they're airing at the same time, but I would consider Solo Leveling to be a good adaptation. Who actually cares about what's going on in that series? We know why we're here. It's for the main man. There's no further proof than when the main character showed emotion by crying for his mom. That so happened to be the most disliked episode. The thing is, when they have those epic ass fights, they know how to deliver. I don't think I've ever seen someone complain about the quality of this anime adaptation. Sure, there's probably someone out there that will say the manhwa is better, but those people are in the minority. For the most part, this is a really good adaptation. Sure, it's not 10 out of 10 at all times, but it doesn't need to be. As long as they deliver on the fights, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's what you need, and I don't think Sakamoto Days is on that level, and both anime's popularity seem to reflect that. You can't have cool moments every other chapter and then not deliver the next. Consistency is the key here. In a way, I almost even feel for the studio a bit. Maybe some people were, but I wasn't expecting Sukuna vs Maharaga levels of animation every other episode. It's just not possible for any studio to do this. Well, I mean, I'm sure Mappa could do it if they sacrifice some goats at a volcano or whatever satanic ritual they do over there to get their animators moving like this, but if there's one thing the manga is about, it's that consistency. He's like 3 or 4 out of 21 in absolute banger volume covers. Literally some of the best covers in the game, and he hasn't missed since 3 or 4. Or never miss period if you like the first few volumes. And like I said before, there is essentially an action sequence of some sort every week in the manga. He knows how to please his fans. He found what brought him success and delivers on it in a weekly basis. Don't think I've ever seen someone say they were disappointed in Sakamoto Days because bro deserves his flowers. He's earned his fans' respect. You know, one defense for the adaptation I saw was that it's fine, because an anime adapting a manga is essentially just a commercial for people to go read the manga. And I'm like, no. Quite possibly the most cope statement I've ever heard. And I don't even know if I have to explain how dumb this is. Look at the Chainsaw Man adaptation. That anime is not a commercial to tell you to just go read it instead. Actually, maybe it is when they take like 2 to 3 years to give us the next arc. But the Chainsaw Man anime, while being an extremely faithful adaptation on paper, offers a different, more movie-esque style that you can argue is more in line with the author's original vision, considering how heavily inspired by movies he is. Both ways to consume the story are great, and while people will have their preferences, both ways are valid. This isn't even to touch on other series like Jujutsu Kaisen and Attack on Titan, which in my opinion are really the definitive ways to experience these stories. Yeah, both mangas are really good, but having the action being animated so well, with both having such a memorable soundtrack, are both undoubtedly reasons for these two series becoming worldwide phenomenons that they are. And do I even need to bring up Demon Slayer, the carried by animation poster child? I've read the manga, I think it's great, but come on now, I'm watching this every chance I get. And Sakamoto Days will now never have the chance to get like these. It's just unfortunate because you can't help but ask, what if? The adaptation is fine, but what if it had a top tier studio and director to really elevate it into a new light? What if this was the next big hit to take the world by storm like how the manga is currently? Maybe they can turn things around because it's not like the anime is irredeemable. You can tell there's something here. I've seen other people forgive shows for less. Look at Blue Lock from last season. They were clowning on it for weeks, justifiably so. But at the end, they were able to redeem themselves with the final U20 game. And if you were in the know, you kind of expected them to put most of their budget into this because this was the moment. I said most, not all of the budget. And now I feel like people look back on season 2 of Blue Lock fondly, crazy enough. The manga is absolutely killing it, but the anime isn't doing too bad for itself either. They see sequences like this and say, you know what, it's not so bad. And I just don't see Sakamoto Days getting the same forgiveness. Because even if they absolutely cook in the future with a random fight, let's just say, I don't know, Osagiri vs Mafuyu for example, next episode or 2 there's going to be an even bigger, better fight coming up that needs that same love and care, that it looks like the anime is desperately lacking. Every action sequence needs to be a 10 out of 10 effectively because that's what the manga is giving us. And without that, the anime will remain an inferior version.